For all of you fitness fanatics, those of you that train hard, you serious strength training individuals, one of the best things you can do to build muscle and strength is take time off. It's true. Studies show that oftentimes athletes gain the most strength during those weeks that they reduce the intensity and the volume, or sometimes take it off completely. Remember, muscle growth doesn't happen during the workout. It's the recovery process where you see that amazing thing happen. So if you haven't taken any time off in a long time, or you're constantly redlining, reduce the intensity, reduce the volume, or take some time off. Watch what happens. You'll probably come back stronger.
Did the live event prompt this with some of the questions and stuff that we had? Is this where this is coming from for you?
No. I was reading.
Interesting, because this was a lot of when we break off after we do the quads and I
had a lot of conversations like this too.
Yeah, so that's why I totally thought that you were going that way because of that. Because I had a thought.
You had a lot of questions around that.
Well, so when we left, it was something that I was going to bring up anyway. So it's interesting you use this as a fitness tip today, because here we are in a room full of a lot of fitness people. They've been in it. A lot of them were health professionals, right? I don't know what percentage of the room you would say were trainers.
I think at one point we asked them to raise their hand if they were coaches or trainers. It was like half, at least.
Yeah, there's a decent amount of
obviously
them.
Everybody's into fitness. That's
right. And so it's interesting that and everybody listens to the podcast. Most all of them have been listening for years. So one, you have a group of people who've listened to the message from us for a very long time that we've been presenting. Mm-hmm. Two are already well versed in fitness because they've been doing it for years, or they are an actual fitness professional who really know shit. Yet this is a challenge for them. So it's such a reminder to me on, man, if you have these people that grasp it, that listen to us, that are professionals in the space, and they still struggle with this conversation, like how many of the average Jane and Joes that go to the gym really don't understand this?
It's interesting because the data keeps coming out on this. You know what prompted me to talk about this was my talk at the Peptide Congress event. And so when I did my talk, I was just looking for studies to back up a lot of the stuff I talk about when it comes to strength training. For context, I was speaking to a room full of health practitioners,
doctors, nurses,
functional medicine practitioners who are there to learn about peptides, how to use them with their patients. And my talk had nothing to do with peptides. That's not my expertise. It was all around strength training. So I was looking up studies, ones that I had cited before, but I just wanted, I'm in a room full of doctors. Like I want to have the study, ready to go because anybody can say a study says, right?
Yeah.
So I was looking up studies on deload weeks, and there's a lot of them. There's quite a few out there. And deload weeks, for people who don't know, this is when a strength athlete, like a power lifter, will train really hard for a certain period of time. Then they'll take a week where they train with a dramatically reduced amount of intensity or volume or both, or they'll take the week off, and they call this a deload week. And studies show that during those deload weeks, many athletes see a boost in strength and muscle. Mm-hmm. And that just shows that we need more recovery than we think, and or we do more than is necessary to make things happen in terms of athletic performance and muscle and strength. Anytime you go over what's necessary, all you do is compromise your recovery, right? If the muscle building signal was like a light switch, and it's not, it's more complicated than that. But if it was like a light switch, once you turn the light switch off, leave it alone. Anything else you do is just going to make it harder for that process to manifest, because now you're compromising recovery. So as I'm looking at these studies, it's like one of the studies, some of the data shows that, and I talked about this in my talk, the amount of strength training required to prevent muscle loss. So not build muscle, but as you age, I don't know what the numbers show, but it's something like for every decade you get older, you lose like 5 or 10%.
Yeah, I think I've read a few that are like 1% a year is kind of
something like that, right? It's like 10% of muscle strength and mass a year. So how much strength training is required just to stop that? Not build muscle, but just prevent that. And it's something like one workout every 2 weeks. So it's like so little. Now this is good news because a lot of people don't want to work out all the time. But for fitness fanatics, this is also good news.
Falls on deaf ears.
Yeah, maybe it's like, hey guys, we're probably doing way more than is necessary, and we will get better results if we schedule. Like, you don't have to take a week off. I know how hard that is. Mm-hmm. Trust me, I'm one of those people. But we probably would get better results if like something like every 6 weeks or every 5 weeks or so, we did like this really easy week of working out where we just go in the gym, and instead of doing 10 sets, we did 5, and we did, 50% intensity that we're normally used to. And what'll probably happen is we'll get better results. I mean, that's where all the progress happens. Is in the recovery.
It's funny because that's what everybody wants is the actual results, and to get to that point. And I think we somehow have really focused on selling the idea of like working out's good for you, and like doing the work is good for you, and to really like enjoy it and figure out how to incorporate this as a lifestyle thing. And it's like, but it gets to a point where, okay, maybe they've caught on to that and they got the bug, and then they love training, and but lose sight of the fact that like you got to do what's most beneficial for you specifically, and recovery is a huge component to that.
Huge. I had a client once, I'll never forget. It was a marathon competitor, and marathon competitors were really hard for me at first to train, because it was really hard for me to adjust my training to complement theirs, because they were already doing so much running that, and I didn't realize at the time, I thought I was giving them appropriate amounts of strength training, but it turned out that for a while I had to keep scaling it back till I found the right dose. And I'll never forget, I had this client, I don't remember how many miles they were running a week, but we scaled it back to 1 strength training workout a week, and we would do like 2 exercises. The rest was mobility, so it was very basic, easy and simple. And then I took her running, the miles that she ran, and we cut them in half. I didn't cut them 10%. We cut them in half, and her times went through the roof. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She was struggling qualifying for the Boston Marathon, cut her volume in half. And I remember the conversation we had. I sat down and I said, look, we have nothing to lose. Let's just cut everything in half, and let's see what happens. And in 4 weeks, we'll test your time. And she crushed her previous record from doing that. And of course, typical trainer, I don't apply it to myself, right? It's like, oh, that's right for you, but I'll just work out as much as I can, type of deal. But, I'll give some strategies, by the way, because I know there's fitness fanatics listening right now that when I say they love working out so much that when I say skip the gym or go easy, it's like,
that's not going to work for me.
Here's what you could do. Here's another thing you could do. Besides cutting sets and intensity, which is the best thing you could do, volume and intensity, is go from exercises that cause more damage to exercises that cause less damage. So let's say your workout calls for barbell squats. Okay, well, instead of doing barbell squats, I'm going to push a sled. Mm-hmm. Let's say your workout calls for deadlifts. Well, instead of a deadlift, I think I'll just do some cable rows or something like that, or maybe some
single leg deadlifts,
some back hyperextensions or single leg deadlifts. So that's another thing you can do, is you could do a week of exercises that are easier on the body to give you that deload phenomena where you come back and you're stronger.
So the other tip I have for those people would be to, and I said this to several people at that talk we had, I said, reevaluate your why. Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, such a great business book. But I find there's a lot of parallels with the advice related to remembering your why in business as the same as the whys of why you exercise and you work out. Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys saw the one lady that I kind of called out that was, saying, oh, I asked her, why do you do this? Oh, it's for this, that.
She kept asking conflicting questions.
Yeah, but then she was asking muscle and body fat percentage. And I said, wait a second, that wasn't even in your why you do this. So why all the questions around that? Yeah. And I ended up having these other talks or conversations with these other people, and I found myself repeating that to people. Is like, and a few of them had this like very much so kind of aha moment, like almost like they're like, oh my God, you're so right. Like, I'm telling you, this is why I work out, because I want to be a better husband, and I want to have energy, and I want to be in my 80s and be able to be mobile and do these things. And it's like, you list all these things, and nowhere in there does it say, need to train 6 days a week. Nowhere in there says I need to be at 7% body fat. Nowhere in there says you need to have a bench press at 315. Yet you guys are all asking me questions related to those things.
Yeah.
Well, so, reevaluating your why. And just and then I told all those people too, I said, hey, there's nothing wrong too with if your why is, I want to get jacked. My goal is to get as jacked as I can and get on stage one day. And like, it's not for me to determine your why or what, but what I see in our space a lot, both in the professionals and in the consumer side, is people say one thing, but then their actions and behaviors around nutrition and exercise contradict it.
Yeah. You know, there's a reverse engineer way to do that, right? Is instead of saying, what's my why, examine what you're doing and say, what do my actions demonstrate my why is?
Yeah, but that's me doing that would put a wall up. Me pointing out their why. It's better for them to reevaluate their why and go, well, this is what I say I'm doing, but then these are the things that I'm actually taking action and doing. It's like, well, if you're doing all this and you say it's because you want to be more active and be a better husband, well, okay, would the 7 days a week go into the gym for an hour be better? Or actually maybe 3 of those hours of those 7 hours, maybe you spend an extra hour with your wife or your kid instead and pick some, I mean, if that's truly what you're telling me your why is related to being a better husband and a better wife, but then you decide that you can't miss the gym for an hour or so days. And I tell you, yes, you can. You absolutely can do that. In fact, if your why is to be a better husband, a better partner, a better these things like that, well, then don't you think that dedicating that hour to doing something like that would be more beneficial?
Actions are much louder, aren't they?
Yeah. And you know, and there's nothing wrong, again, with having different seasons of your life, or maybe even your why changes, where sometimes you are focused on those things. So I don't want to come off like I'm judging people that want to get jacked or want to get a bench press. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But what I find is most interesting, or what I see most common,
is it aligning with what?
Is a lot of times and why that's important is because it normally highlights something else going on. It normally highlights that you're using the gym to run away from something else, or you're saying that this is important, but deep down, actually, that's not. Maybe you're more vain. It's okay, but you don't want to admit it to yourself that you really care about. Like, so I just think it's important that you're consistently reevaluating why you do these things, and why are you going to the gym, and then making sure, do your actions truly align with what you say is your main goal.
Today's program giveaway is Maps Split. To enter to win, leave a comment below this video in the first 24 hours we drop it. Subscribe to this channel and also turn on your notifications. If you win, we'll let you know in the comment section. Also, you have 2 days left for the June sale. Maps 15, half off. The bikini bundle of workout programs is half off. And the shredded summer bundle of programs is also half off. All of those 50% off. You have 48 hours as of right now to take advantage. So if you're interested, just click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, back to the show. Speaking of recovery, I've been doing more reading on the active ingredient in the Happy Drops saffron extract.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of recovery, remarkable for recovery. So I actually read a study.
Saffron is?
Yes, dude. So the active ingredient. So there's an extract Happy Drops uses this particular extract.
Has this been known for a long time? I've never heard saffron in conversation.
Well, now you're seeing it all over the place, right? And Organifi is really good at that. They tend to put something out and then you see copycats. But I read a study that showed that they compared it to NSAIDs, so non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, for muscle soreness, and it was as effective, except they had really good strength gains. You know how if you take too many anti-inflammatory drugs, you can actually prevent some of the strength gains that occur, that can come from working out. The Saffron group, 60% increase in strength, I think, at the end of 12 weeks. But they felt no soreness or...
Wait a second. You're telling me that saffron is showing the same benefits as an NSAID does for things like this?
In this study, I definitely would not put it in the same category of as powerful as an anti-inflammatory.
Okay,
but this study
because that would be like crazy.
No. You're not going to take this if you got a migraine or you have a fever or something like that. But in this study, these young men, they did leg press was the exercise that they did for 20 reps at a high intensity, and it almost eliminated their muscle soreness that they got post-workout, and they got great strength gains at the end. So it's a great supplement for recovery in the context of supplements. Of course, nothing's better than sleep and diet and all that stuff, but it's pretty awesome. Where does their saffron come from there, Doug?
It's called saffractive.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Is it a flower, an herb? What is it?
You know,
so saffron is a flower.
They use it in cooking.
Flower.
Yeah.
They have using what?
Cooking.
Oh, they said cocaine.
No,
cooking. Yeah.
What?
I was like, no, they don't.
Dude, literally ratatouille. It was so funny because it was like that was one of the first like ingredients. Like, oh, and they put saffron on it. It was like this whole experience.
What a great movie that was, dude. I got to tell you, I was working out this morning at UFC gym again. Good shout out to that gym. Love that place. And younger couple come up to me and they, introduce themselves. They listen to the show. And, you ever meet a couple? Actually, we did at the event. We'll talk about them too. You ever meet a couple where you look at them and you're like, you guys hit the genetic lottery. They're both, first of all, dude was at least 6'5".
Yeah.
She was probably 6 foot. So they're both tall.
Yeah.
They're both really well built and athletic and fit and seem quite intelligent. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, this is hilarious. You guys so I asked her, so do you guys play sports or whatever? And she's a collegiate rower, which is very high level especially for female sport, women's sports.
I wonder how often,
I can't help but picture
I know
what your kids are gonna look like.
Like they're thinking about that ahead of time. Like, I got to find somebody that's going to produce good kids.
Yeah, dude.
Good offspring.
Because they both look like
there has to be. I mean,
like some thought into that.
I guess I know without rolling somebody on the bus. Like Katrina has a girlfriend that I know. Shopped for her, baby's daddy with that intent. Like his genetics was like the most important thing.
Really?
Yeah. Forget how smart he was or
that's kind of
what he was.
That's
interesting.
Huh?
It was all physical genetics. It wasn't.
She completely
that could go backfire.
Yeah, well, it did. They ended up not working out and aren't together and haven't been together for a long time. But I was just thinking about how many people do you think actually look for a partner based off of that?
I don't think
that's one example I know.
Yeah, I don't think it's intentional. I think you tend to attract. I mean, studies will show this. There's like a attractiveness range that people tend to match up with. So like the couple at our dinner.
Yeah,
the dude. Well, his girl didn't come there. He did, but this guy shows up and he's 6'7"?
Yeah, he's a tall guy.
Tall, good looking dude, real fit or whatever. Nice guy. We had great conversation at the VIP dinner. But then when we leave, his girlfriend shows up because she met up with him, and she's also tall.
Yeah,
good. She's probably 6
the
foot.
Power couple. Yeah,
and I looked at them like, you guys are gonna have like Olympic children.
Yeah,
if you guys
for sure. It makes me curious because Brock Lesnar's daughter.
God.
I sent that over.
Have you seen his wife? I don't know what his wife looks like.
Well, whatever she looks like, she got dad's genetics,
right?
It looks like
100%.
Looks like Brock Lesnar in female form.
Yeah,
identical.
Yeah.
And she's like a shot put
She's
champion.
killing it in shot put, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
You know how strong you have to be in that sport? That's like pure explosive power.
Yeah, and lots of technique.
Technique, but also you got to be really powerful. Don't some of them also do weightlifting and stuff sometimes?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a crossover event.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But she crushed it. But yeah, so I'm like, you see this couple and you're like, oh my God, you guys are going to have world champion, like children.
Olympic.
Now, how often does it happen where that doesn't there's obviously situations where you have that, and then the kid ends up being 5'2", and like that has to be super rare,
just
right?
really
super rare like that.
Probably.
Obviously, it's your child. You love your child no matter what. But I mean, there is got to be a part. If I was him, 6'6",
that's when the mailman shows up and you're like, wait a minute,
yeah.
Is that he's 5'2" too?
He looks like Newman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's for a girl that's that tall, however, smart, intelligent, and attractive and stuff. When you're 5'10" or taller as a woman, it's harder to find a guy, right? Because you typically want to be with a guy that.
Of course.
Yeah. So I mean, but this guy's 6'7"? He was a giant.
Yeah, he was probably.
Very rarely do we hang around dudes that make us feel small.
I can count on one hand how many times I've taken photographs of somebody where their arms go over my arms and shoulder. Yeah. So, which by the way, I think is so funny when I meet. We take so many photos when we do these things. When somebody tries to do that with me and they're shorter than me, it's like such an awkward thing. I don't know if you guys have experienced that or not.
Climbing on
I'm like being a taller guy when somebody else, and I don't know if that's because maybe they're used to being the taller one or something like that, and they're trying to put their arm.
No, go for the lower back.
It just feels so awkward where I have to go like this. And
I don't know what always happens. You and I, for some reason, always end up on the other side of the person that we're taking a picture with. We always naturally end up that way. And it's always sometimes it's awkward because our hands will touch Adam and I
you guys interlock.
Our fingers will touch a little bit.
I know what you guys are doing.
Stop holding my hand, bro. I hate it when you're gonna. Don't you hate this when you're ready to take a picture but the camera's not ready?
Yeah. So you hold each other for
just a long ass time. Just waiting for the camera to go off. Anyway, that was a good time. It was a really good event. Oh man, you guys missed such a great talk on these next generation GLP-1 peptides that are coming out.
Right.
Oh my God.
So,
oh my God.
Explain to the audience and me too, so I can fully agree. Because GLP-1's been around 20 something years.
Yeah.
for a good chunk of those 20 years, it was basically just the semaglutide.
No,
was that not the original?
No,
What's the
other ones.
Okay, what was the original?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
Yeah,
the
I don't
name.
know the exact. I forgot the name.
But like, explain to people like that, because you're hearing a lot of names like semaglutide, trizepatide. You're now saying another generation, and so they all fall under the GLP-1 category,
Yes, they
and
do.
really they're all evolutions of them. And and correct me if I'm wrong, like each time a new one comes out, they find a way to like mitigate any of the things that people complain about. For example, like
they improve on them.
Yeah, like tirzepatide was the predecessor of semaglutide, right?
Yeah. So you have first, second, third generation right now GLP-1 agonists. Okay, so semaglutide is an agonist for the GLP-1 receptor. They call it a single agonist GLP-1. Then you had tirzepatide, which is a double agonist, meaning it is agonizing or stimulating two different receptor sites. The next generation is known as a triple agonist. And the triple, I can't remember what I know one of them is the GLP-1 site. I don't remember what the other one is. Maybe Doug, you can look up tirzepatide, double agonist tirzepatide and see what it's. But anyway, this new generation also is causing a release of, I think I'm saying it right, glucagon. And you would think not to do that because it counters insulin. And so they're like, we don't want that to happen. But apparently there's some other downstream effects. Anyway, without getting all, Dr. Seeds on everybody, he was funny when he was at the event.
Oh, God.
Someone asked him a peptide question. He went super technical.
Very detailed.
I was having a good time, but I knew everybody in there was like, what's he saying?
Bro, everybody got glossed over.
I know. But anyway, so this doctor was up on stage talking about this next generation known as a triple agonist GLP-1, and it's called retatrutide. And in comparison to the other GLP-1s, so semaglutide in studies will cause about an 18% loss of body weight. So whatever your body weight is, 18% of your body weight will be lost. Then you got to tirzepatide, it's about 20 to 22. This new one is 25. And in women was actually as high as 27. It's even more effective for women. So just to put that in context, okay, you're 200 pounds.
Yeah.
That's like, what is that, 50-pound weight loss? That's a 50 pounds
massive
of weight loss. What does that say there, Doug?
So don't ask me to explain this, but it's called a dual agonist.
Dual agonist,
yeah.
Okay.
And the tirzepatide has GLP-1 and GIP.
There you go. So this new one is GLP-1, GIP. What's GIP stand for, by the way?
Glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide.
There you go. And then the third one was the actual glucagon. I think I'm saying it right.
Glucagon like peptide 1.
Yeah. Well, there's actually stimulating glucagon. Anyway, hits 3 receptors. Okay, so 25% of your body weight loss. So it's way more powerful. Okay, a little more effective for women. Here's where it gets crazy. So I'm listening to him talk about how this is more effective. And you know what I'm thinking in my head, like, oh, cool. It makes you eat less. Than
more weight loss. Yeah. I don't know.
This one makes you eat.
So you lose as much or more muscle.
Yeah.
Now.
So this one makes you eat less. This one makes you eat even less. This one makes you eat the least. So that's probably what's happening. That's what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
Then he goes in and he shows the data on a study where they actually controlled for calories. This is what we wanted, right? So you have a group that took this triple agonist GLP-1, and then you had another group who ate low calories as well. So everybody's eating the low calories. Everybody's eating the same. This group is just taking the GLP-1. Now, I would expect that the weight loss would be the same. Both groups eating, certain amount percentage of calories below maintenance. It's all the same. No. The group that took this GLP-1 lost twice as much body fat.
Wow.
Okay. Now they lost muscle like the other group, but the muscle lost was a smaller percentage of the overall body weight. Okay. So it actually
they figured out how to preserve it.
Had a positive effect on muscle. What does that say there? Glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide, glucagon-like peptide, and glucagon receptor. Okay, so there's the 3. So,
there's a 48-week phase 2 obesity study.
Yes,
demonstrated weight reductions of 22.8% and 24.2. Yeah, with the 8 milligrams.
So the group with the GLP-1 versus the group that also ate low calories, all controlled, lost twice as much fat and lost less muscle as a percentage of body weight. They still lost muscle because everybody's eating less calories. Yeah. They're not having strength training, right? So you're gonna lose muscle because your body's trying to.
Sure.
Okay. Here's the other part that's crazy. When they took them off the GLP-1 and they took the other group and said you don't have to control your calories anymore, The group that took the GLP-1 gained the weight back much more slowly than the other group. So both of them went back into regular life, but the GLP-1 group gained the weight back much more slowly.
Now, there's an obvious reason to that, because they maintain more lean body mass. Lean body mass by itself at rest is going to keep you at a higher metabolism by itself.
Here's the part that's trippy. You always expect a metabolic adaptation when you cut your calories. Meaning your metabolism slows down, okay? Your body's always going to do this. Anytime you reduce your calories, there's ways you could try to mitigate it or whatever, strength training and all that stuff. The group that took the GLP-1 had significantly less of the metabolic adaptation than the other group. Even though they were all eating low calorie, their metabolism did not slow like the other group.
Wouldn't you attribute that to the muscle they maintained?
Yes.
Because if two groups...
Yes, but you have to understand, they both lost the same amount of muscle. It's just that they lost more weight on the other side. So the muscle loss was roughly the same. So what I said was, let me back up a little bit. They lost less muscle as a percentage of body weight lost.
Right.
But they both lost the same muscle. Yet their metabolism didn't slow like the other group.
So what's your theory on what would attribute to
this has to do, obviously, with the peptide itself and how it's interacting with these receptors.
And by the way, none of this is what I love about these. These are just like, kind of like how I tried to use it, right? I wasn't like trying not to lose muscle. It was like, I'm just going to go and take this and allow it to take its course. These aren't people that are like trying to stay on a higher protein diet and also train and stimulate and hold on.
They were like, you take this.
You just take it.
You take this. Just we'll watch your calories. You guys will match your calories and let's see what happens. That's according to how he presented it.
Yeah.
Here's some more cool stuff about this with the muscle loss where I was tripping out. Because GLP-1s, you have other data that shows that it is pro-muscle health, maybe pro-muscle building to an extent. I told you guys it's my experience.
Yeah, you've been microdosing.
I'm taking a really low dose. I'm not getting any appetite suppression. I keep telling you guys, I'm getting these crazy pumps.
It's almost anabolic for you, yeah.
Well, it increases, it drives amino acids and glycogen into muscle, et cetera, et cetera. This study shows like there's definitely some muscle preserving effect that's happening. We'll trip off this. The muscle loss. This part blew me away, right? My wife told me this. I think you commented on this as well, and a couple other people. When you take a GLP-1, it lowers your appetite. It also lowers your thirst. So people on a GLP-1 don't just eat less, they also drink less water.
Yeah.
And because you're eating less, you're also taking in less hydration. Something like 25% of the water that we get a day comes from our food, not just water. So you have a big reduction in hydration. Do you know what that does to muscle?
Yeah.
It shrinks it.
Yeah.
It reduces lean body mass, and it sends a signal to the body to break muscle down in combination with a calorie deficit. So
just being less hydrated,
low calories. You're not strength training. It's like, we're going to lose
muscle. Wouldn't have thought of that angle. Yeah.
Right. So,
I mean, we kind of did. I mean,
we did in the structure.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We did factor that in. I'm
not to pat ourselves on the back here or anything like that. But I mean, this was like one of the things that is in our recommendations on a daily thing is to include that.
That's right. To drink more water.
Yeah.
So here's the part that is really fun, right? So this guy's up there talking, and I love this stuff because you guys know me. I get all weird about it. So there are compounds known as osmolytes. Osmolytes are compounds that
it sounds like a funny name.
I know. They just to make it layman's terms, it draws water in. So something that will draw water in, right? Yeah. And a great osmolyte for muscle is creatine. We know this.
Yes.
Creatine hydrates muscle. That hydration also stimulates muscle growth. So you want this, right? You want this to happen. But there are also other osmolytes. There's two amino acids in particular that are really, really powerful osmolytes. Proline and glycine. Okay, two amino acids, proline and glycine. Do you know what protein is very high in proline and glycine? Collagen. This may be the time when if you're on a GLP-1, because if you go gram per gram, whey protein's the best. And we've always said this. If your protein's really high, it doesn't matter. But if it's below the upper limit, then it definitely makes a difference, okay? But I think in this case, if you're on a GLP-1, you probably want to go with collagen because collagen it will help improve the hydration of your muscle cells.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't wait for this clip to go viral.
I know.
All the hate you're gonna get right now. In fact, you need to say it right now. Like collagen
In this
protein would be
instance,
the best.
Yeah.
If you're on a GLP-1, collagen protein is probably the best protein for you, for sure.
Here comes the clips.
I know, right?
Oh, my
Isn't that
God.
cool?
That is cool.
It is really cool to know.
Yeah,
and understand.
interesting.
Now, on the other side of it, the other side of me, right, which is thinking of the future of how these things are going to be applied in culture and all that stuff. Holy shit. Like we are talking about, this is as close as we've come, and we're nowhere near close to this, okay? Just as close as we've come to a compound that can literally like help everything in that sense. Now, we don't know what a potential long-term side effects in some people, doesn't work for everybody, et cetera, et cetera. Still a medical intervention, still doesn't come close to changing your lifestyle. But in terms of the context of medical interventions, I don't know anything that's even come close to something like this.
So because
crazy.
So
So you just wait till they come out with 4th and 5th generation.
I know, we're
'Cause you know-
going into the 3rd generation.
You
Who
know,
knows?
pharma right now, seeing the money is going crazy with R&D. You know that. You know, in the next 5 years, they're going to come out with some crazy
Some
stuff.
So can we
blocker in there somewhere.
take this time then to talk a little bit? I know we briefly brought it up in a previous podcast, but I really want to do something different than we've ever done before. With we tend to not let the cat out of the bag with what we're doing on the business side when it comes to programs, this and that. But this I find is a exception to the rule because it's obviously been a hot topic for us, our space, the world. I mean, this is. It's rare where I feel like mainstream media crosses over with fitness, right? Like fitness doesn't make the news too much, but it is like the amount of people that are taking Ozempic and these GLP-1s. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys know anybody yet who doesn't know somebody who's either on one or taking one?
I told you, my 14-year-old daughter knows what it is.
Yeah, I mean it's become that big of a deal, which highlights why we wanted to be ahead of this, right? And why, like, we've got a question in the forum recently that, they're talking about peptides so much. Well, yeah, it's because we've been doing this for over 20 years. And
this is industry shaking.
Yes. And I like to think that we tend to see things ahead of the average person when it's going to move an industry. And we knew when the more and more we dug into this, like, holy shit, this is going to shake our industry up more than probably anything that we've seen in our lifetime.
Look, even more than you think. That's still early to talk about, but there's a phase 3 trial right now on these triple agonist GLP-1s for autoimmune issues, osteoarthritis, not even for weight loss.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. So this is a big deal. And when you said, I want to clarify for people listening, you said we want to get ahead of this. He doesn't mean from a business standpoint. We want to get ahead of this because, okay, Jolene Brighton's a great example. Jolene Brighton is like, I love the way she communicates birth control pill. Birth control pills have been around for decades now. It totally shifted culture. And for a long time, the way they were presented was no side effects. It's fine. Everybody take it. Oh, you have acne, take birth control. Oh, you have an irregular period, take birth control. Like just without anybody really talking about the potential negatives and how it makes you choose your mate.
Impact.
Yeah, like women choose men differently when they're on birth control. It can affect your hormones long term. It could all these other things. And Dr. Jolene Brighton really presents this well. Imagine if she was around when birth control first came out to be able to, hey, everybody, yes, this works.
Yeah.
But
provide context.
Let me explain some of these other things to consider.
That's right.
That's what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is get ahead of the wave that is inevitable with these things. And we're going to say, look, here's how you do it right. Here's how you do it wrong.
guardrails.
Here are the things you can do to mitigate these potential negatives. Here's who it's for. Here's definitely who it's not for. And because we tend to set the precedent in our space, because our podcast reaches so many people, we want to say it loud and first so that all the morons that follow us who try to say something different, a lot of people are gonna be like, that's not what I heard. That's actually wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the way it needs to be presented. So So we are going to be coming out with a course around this, and we're actually going to personally coach how many people? 50?
50 is the plan right now.
Yeah.
And the idea of this, we've never done this, right? So we've been doing Mind Pump for almost 10 years. In January, it'll be 10 years. And we've never made time personally to coach people through a program. Just it's not feasible or equitable for us to do that. We've got so many things on our plate. But that just shows you again why we think it's so important is that we're going to take a cohort of probably 50 people that we're going to go take them through a 3-month program. That's how long the program is. And part of the idea of that is less of the business side of it and more of just to give us even greater insight. Obviously, we've been,
and we're going to coach them on exercise and nutrition,
they're on their own behaviors, everything.
All that. So we want to know. It's like a test case for us.
And both Dr. Tina and Dr. Seeds were so excited that we were leading the charge in this in the fitness space and wanting to make a difference in this and really communicate this the right way, that when I offered to hire them to come on board to help support this, not only support us in creating it and writing it out, but also by coming into the private forum that will have access to them, which will be the 50 people that we take through this. They're going to be in there every month and doing live talks and questions for those 50 people. And they offer those services to us.
Now, we are accepting now people who are interested. We're not going to tell, so you could essentially get on a wait list, right? Is that what it is?
Well, no, the idea right now is because this is going to take us probably about 30 to 60 days to get this all out and organized. We've been working on it for a while now. It's not going to be cheap. I'll just be direct to go through this process with us, to go through this coaching, to get this kind of one-on-one attention from all of us. But we do want to do it for at least 50 people right now and see how we can impact them. So this is people that would be potentially interested in that. So if you go and you sign up, you'll be the first group of people that will even let know. So as soon as it's all together, it's obviously sometimes when we create content, for example, this right here is going to take a week to get out. Yeah. Whereas if I had access to the, say, 100, 200, 400, or 4,000 people that might be interested in it, we can send an email out saying, hey, first 50 that want to sign up for this, here you go. And so if it's something that you're interested in, or like I have a client who is going to pay for her family member to go through this. She doesn't need to do it, but she has a sibling who she really, really knows needs help. She obviously trusts us to coach her and take her through it. She's going to buy and purchase the GLP-1 for her and get her all set up. So it doesn't necessarily even have to be you. If you have a family member that is either going to be taking it or already taking it, and you would want them coached by us to go through it, you can also do that too.
So it's coachglp1.com, and you can go and sign up, right?
Yep.
And then you'll get notified.
Yeah. You're going to do, it's a landing page where you'll just put in a couple of things. I don't know. I think Doug put 2 or 3 things in there, your personal information, and then you'll now be on a list. And then that list will be notified before anybody else on when this goes live. Because what we want to do is for people that may be interested, but then aren't on a GLP-1 that will be getting on, we want to give them enough time to be able to get a hold of all the peptides and do that so that we can bring this group all together one time through this.
So I got to ask you guys a question because we're talking about
one of the osmolytes. I love it, dude. It's like
I'm an osmolite.
It's either that or it's like I kept thinking it's like midichlorians, for star. It's like that's just such a cool word to describe it.
All right, so I got to ask you guys. You're honest because I'm going to tell you guys what I did, but I need to know first and honest because I don't want to say what I did if it didn't work really well.
Oh, okay.
So I've done a few. You guys have seen me do a few talks in front of live groups. For me, the audience doesn't know.
A lot.
Audience doesn't know. For me, talking in front of camera, no problem. I can do it. Eyes closed, totally comfortable. When I talk in front of a live group, sometimes I can get nervous. Mm-hmm. And then this was also like this. These weren't our fans. This was like for someone else.
I didn't think you looked nervous at all.
Okay, so compared to some of my other talks, how did I do?
I thought it was one of the best talks you've ever done.
Okay, so I did something different than I've done ever before. 2 things. One is I used prayer, that's now a part of my routine now. Okay. So I use prayer. The other one is I use Brain FM Focus.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I put Brain FM Focus on.
Heading in
and thinking about what I wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. And you know how it works, right? You put Focus on, you listen to it, and like for the first 3-4 minutes, you don't notice anything, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm on fire.
Yeah.
So I just went through every kind of step.
Did you pray while you were listening to Focus, or did you do them separately?
That was right before. Right outside the door.
Maybe be interesting to do it at the same time.
At the same time?
Maybe get you connected to God.
Yeah. I don't know if I need Brain FM.
How about that, Brain FM, for a commercial? Get better connected to God.
I'm not going to say that live because I didn't do it, but I did it right before I walked in outside the door. Okay. I
thought it was the points were very clear. Your examples were
killed
great,
it,
dude. Like, everybody was engaged. So it was definitely one of those. I think, because you've also been doing a tour and talking about like this topic. You've been able to hone in on that, but presenting it like that was the first time I saw it all kind of really gel.
Yeah, the difference was definitely nerves. It just I felt very calm. I didn't feel hyped because hyped is also nervous. If I get hyped, it's also a nervous reaction for me, right? I felt very calm.
It's such an art to be able to do what you do, and especially in front of an audience like that. It's one thing talking to your subordinates or even like your peers, but to talk to an elevated group like that, where there's doctors, health practitioners, that you are, nurses, functional medicine people, like a lot of very brilliant people that you're having a communication. It's such a fine, and it's for someone watching, it's amazing. And I have such an appreciation for it because you have this ability to communicate something that is very hard for the average person to understand. And you can distill that down so it's digestible for most people. Simultaneously, you know how to let your peers or people that might the first time know you and they're doctors and like, who the fuck is this meathead talking? You have a really, really good way of letting you know that I know my shit without also coming off like a lot of doctors
condescending.
do. Yeah, like doctors come off sometimes a little bit God complex and over deliver on how smart I am. You know how to just give you a little bit enough so you know like, oh, he knows his shit, but then not to get consumed by that and caught up in, I need to tell everybody how smart I am. You're more focused on making a connection to the people you're talking to. Not a lot of people know how to do that really well. And it's more than just intelligence. It's a true art to be able to do that.
I appreciate that. Well, no, I felt very calm going into it, very calm and comfortable. And what I did is the morning of is I took a cold shower because that helps. Then I put the Brain FM on and just kind of went through in my head what I was going to talk about. And I felt very organized. You know what it is? I felt organized and focused. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're going to do something, you just feel organized about it. Yeah. And then of course, going back on stage, I just, said a prayer, for just to submit. So for whatever, he wants for me.
Yeah.
And so I felt great going up there and talking and I had a great time. But you know what helps? Here's what works for you. I'm going to tell people listening right now, if you're in a position where you need to be, you're going to be talking to a very intelligent crowd. When you work out, it works in your favor because I know what happens. I know that people down there looking at me are like, "Oh, meathead."
Oh man.
Yeah. So I don't have to say much for them to be like, "Oh, he's not a meathead."
I mean, we've always said that was the only that was like the reason.
Like, look at that bro.
Why this show did it right. I mean, how long have we been referred to as the bros, right? I mean, if you can come off as that, like. It's like the movie who you're told isn't going to be a good movie, and then you find out, oh, it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
It's you're like, oh, he's going to be really dumb. And he's like, hey, he's kind of smart, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that meathead right there. Did he just say mitochondria?
No, there's a real art to that, and it takes a lot of intelligence, but it's more than just intelligence. I mean, a perfect example. Look how brilliant Dr. Seeds is. I mean, the way he can communicate peptides is like, his ability is unreal. But then look at him try and deliver a joke and poke fun at me, and then it not land whatsoever. Like,
bro, he comes on stage, and I don't know what he was trying to do. Like, he was trying to say you're fat, or was he trying to say, what was he trying to do?
Well, he was so
you got leaner.
We were all four sitting in
I was confused.
Our director chairs. So was the whole audience. The whole audience, you could tell, was confused. Everybody was confused.
He hit you in the belly.
He was sitting next to me, and he was talking, and so I'm sitting like. I'm like slouched over, and we're in these director chairs with that, and he's talking, and then he looks over and he kind of hits me in the belly and goes, "What's up with this?"
Yeah, what's this?
And he's like looking at my stomach,
like patting it,
pointing at it, and I'm like, "Oh, really? Oh, God!" And then I'm like, "Well, man, give me a break. I haven't really worked out much in the last month or whatever like that, right?" And he kind of like went in on it a couple times, and then kind of tried to get you guys to pile in too and be like, "What's going on, guys?" And he's like pointing at it, and everyone's like, "Oh," the whole audience was like, "Oh," like this, and I was like, "Jesus, what was that all about?" And so like I don't know. Right after that, between questions, I stood up and like. Casually like showed my abs to show people that like I'm really not that fat. I promise you.
Maybe I was in bad posture.
Yeah. It's like, come on, let me tell you, it's not that bad. Let me show you, right?
I got to tell you, I love Dr. C.
Yeah, he's just trying to roast you.
He's like one of the boys. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously the brilliant, right? But first off, did you see how he dressed? Was he wearing Versace?
Dude, oh, bro, he was so.
Bro, he looked.
He was so
swaggy. He goes for it, dude.
Bro, he's so swaggy. The glasses, the beard. He just walk around like this is like the hottest old dude I've ever seen in my life.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, he's the,
Just
he's the man. So he came up to Doug. He came up to Doug afterwards
and said you were looking.
No, so so Doug, what did he say to you? He came up to you. I think he felt bad.
Yeah, he was saying that you were so thin.
Yeah.
That was
that makes sense because when he saw
it totally makes sense. I've lost all kinds of weight.
I don't think anybody got that though.
No, nobody thought that.
He was saying you were fat.
Yeah. Well, because he was like gesturing towards my stomach and looking down at that. It wasn't like he was like, he did that. I mean, if he would have grabbed my arms, like he was squeezing my bicep, I would have totally received it that way.
Yeah.
But it was like he pat me on the belly or pointed at my belly. It was like
it was funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah, nobody knew that, and Doug was the first person to enlighten me that he didn't mean that, because up until the whole thing was over and you said that, I was almost certain that it was like a fat joke.
I know.
It wasn't.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
You gotta be. Hey,
I mean, what did you think, Andrew? Watching? Did you?
I took it like how Doug just mentioned it, because Sal had just said to him, Dr. Seeds, you look so great. And then like immediately after, he turned to you and was like, oh, look at this guy. And then
so you actually got it the right way.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. You're the first person to say that, because Jerry and everybody else I talked to, they all thought it was the other way. So I didn't think that at all.
That sucks when you make a joke and then the person takes it totally the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ever do that where you make a joke, they're like, oh.
I mean, I felt like we were all caught off guard, because I feel like you guys would have rolled with it if it was like making fun of my size, and we would have played right into that. You know what I'm saying? And no, I totally did not. It went right over my head. But I mean, point of that is just like, there's an example, right? Like, brilliant man, brilliant speaker, delivering jokes to a live audience. Not my strength.
What's going on?
Our strengths.
Yeah. So there's an art to that, man. There's an art to be able to connect to an audience, to throw a joke in there, to let you know how smart I am. And I just think that you do that masterfully.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
I really do. I think you have this ability to. You can take somebody who knows nothing about fitness and engage them into your conversation while not losing the doctors, and vice versa, which that to me is
I just get excited because you're sort of in that pool now. Like, so we're actually really literally connecting with physicians. And so it's like, this is becoming a bridge now with what we've been talking about forever, but now we get the power of the physicians to pay attention.
This was a dream of mine 2 decades ago. When I opened my studio, my goal was to merge medicine with fitness, with wellness. I mean, they're all so separate. And then I did have a lot of clients that were doctors at the time, and then they started referring me patients. I'm like, man, if we could just get everybody to work together, not get doctors to understand how to train people. Not going to happen. They know their expertise.
Just team up.
And not get trainers to become doctors. It's not going to happen. But yes, work together. And Dr. Seeds came up on stage and he said that exact thing. He says, we need to bridge the gap, because he's such a fitness guy. Like when you meet the guy, he's fit. Like the dude's jacked. He works out. He understands the benefits and the value more than the average doctor.
Maybe that's why the joke didn't land. I've never had a doctor like make fun of me for being smaller than them.
It's just hard to receive.
I've been more jacked than every doctor, so maybe that was all my bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess the first time ever, maybe you are a little more jacked than I am.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Anyway, I got a scary study for you guys. I just read a study on fatty deposits. They did an analysis of fatty deposits in blood clots. You know what they found?
Ooh, what?
Microplastics. Tons and tons of microplastics in blood clots in the heart, brain,
my God.
and the legs. So shards of plastic from larger chunks have been found inside more than 50%. So more than half are found in there. And I'm sure it's playing a role.
Dude, so that's really it. It's like you think that you're just, okay, microplastics, what's the big deal? You're just going to like pass through, but
no,
they're getting into our system, our organs, and everything else.
And they build up in your liver. They find them in the liver. They find them in the kidneys. They find them in men's testicles.
Yeah, that's super problematic.
And in your blood. Wow. Yeah, dude. And because
when you understand what most autoimmune disease comes from with that, you have to think for sure that is influencing a big.
Why wouldn't it? It's a foreign object in the body.
And that's what autoimmune is. Yeah. Autoimmune is your body responding.
Like attacking itself.
Yes, attacking itself and responding because it's got a foreign invader. And it makes so much sense that's why we've seen an explosion in autoimmune.
Dude, I got to tell you too, and I feel stupid drinking out of a plastic bottle of water because they find microplastics in these things.
Yeah.
But at home, I get filtered water, and I get it shipped to me in glass containers.
Yeah, I know.
So big glass containers because of that. Because just the manufacturing process of like when the goes through the machine, fill it with water, put the cap on, little tiny microscopic bits of plastic get in the water, and you can't tell unless you get a microscope.
Well, and the thing is that one time or the few of those isn't so. It's all
years.
The more and more we're learning is that.
Bro, this wasn't an issue. Well, at least not with plastic bottles. When I was a kid, do you guys remember when drinking out of plastic bottles became popular?
Well, bro, there was you know that when we were kids they didn't even sell water.
No,
I know.
You didn't buy water.
Yeah.
You didn't buy. How crazy!
You sound like a caveman.
Think about that for a second. When we were kids, they didn't even sell bottled water.
No, they did, but
And now that
if you
is-
were rich, you bought Avion. Remember
I used to
that?
drink out of a hose. Yeah.
Exactly, bro.
But there's like
Everybody
you
did.
go to a 7-Eleven or grocery store. I mean, there's literally 2 or 3 doors
Yeah.
are responsible to all the different brands of bottled and plastic
Yes.
water and canned water now that's out there. That wasn't even a market. It's wild.
Do you remember drinking out of the hose? And
Yes.
But do you remember that you had to especially if it was hot outside, you
had to
ever burn
wait.
your mouth with the freaking hot water that came out first? The one that was sitting in the hose? Oh my God, dude. That shit got hot,
It
dude.
tasted like that nasty like rubber.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's gross.
Kids are funny too now. I was at the park yesterday with my kids, and there's a water fountain there. And my daughter's like, "Did you bring water?" And I'm like, No, go drink the water fountain." And all the kids are like, "Ew." Like, it's a water fountain. What are you talking about, dude? We used to drink out of everything.
I mean, how horrible is it that part of why we went away from that is because you're like, oh my God, it's so dirty and the rubber from the hose, but is the plastic actually worse
Probably.
Yeah.
than the rubber
Trade
from the
it out.
God.
Yeah,
Probably.
something worse.
Is that would
Probably.
be crazy if that's true?
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
Is I heard, I don't know how true this is. Isn't well water supposed to be the best? If you have a well, isn't that supposed to be the best?
Should be, as
would
long
think
as it's
so.
clean, right?
Natural filtering happening there, right?
Yeah,
With
yeah.
the
I've never had a well. I've never had well
limestone.
water. Did you have well water, Justin?
We had,
had
well
well
water.
water.
Yes, when I was at my old place.
You did?
Uh-huh.
And that's where you got all your water for drinking?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, our whole house.
I grew up- yeah, we did
ran
too.
off that.
You did too?
Mhm, when I lived up
How
there.
does a well work? Does it collect rainwater? What is that?
No, I think you go deep enough.
Yeah, it
There's
goes-
And it just
groundwater,
goes through the
yeah.
ground
Yes.
into, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this. Like, what's a
Did you, when you were talking about the GLP one, and we're talking about how we're going to coach? Did you give the?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Coach
I didn't-
GLP1,
My bad. I don't remember if you said it or not.
.com.
Oh,
is
I had. Did you guys at all like check out Elon Musk and like some of the new things like Tesla's gonna be doing in the future? I think he was doing some like announcement to like shareholders and whatnot. But I figured, especially Adam would be interested in this. But so I guess they're gonna have a fleet of Teslas that are just devoted to like robo-taxi. But in the future, your own personal Tesla, you can just like click onto their app and then put it into the fleet as an option to make money while you're gone.
Brilliant.
Right. So it's like it combos like the Airbnb and like a Uber within their own system.
That is
So
That's
brilliant.
he's like, dude, this could even like, within a short amount of time actually pay for your payments just by putting it in the fleet for people to use.
Imagine you're at work for 8 hours. You
So
just park your
brilliant.
car outside, hit the app, and the car goes and works while
Exactly.
you're working. Wow.
Dude,
That
that's
is brilliant.
crazy.
That is
I was
sick.
like, this guy is on another level.
He
man.
is because
See, something like that would make me buy a Tesla.
I know.
Even
I
though
was
I'm,
uninterested until I heard that. I was like, oh,
because
wow,
I'm not really into the cars. Like, I'm not a Tesla guy at all. But that's cool. That is really cool to be able, and it all automated too, to where you could just set it up where it's like, oh, have this thing. I work from this. Imagine that. Imagine like right now, right?
Yeah,
like
a few hours.
Our
even,
cars
he said
being
you
our
could do a
cars
lot-
being parked out in the parking lot right now.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was making us money while you're sitting here working. Then
and
you
it
get
will. Yeah, he's like 100%. This will. So,
that is,
yeah.
you know why that's so brilliant too is, trying for a company to build a fleet that does that on its own. Like,
How did I not hear about that?
Think of a
That's
company that's like, we're going to build a fleet of robo taxis. Tesla's going to do it faster because people are buying the cars and doing it themselves.
They've already been testing it. Yeah, in the market. So,
Wow, I'm blown away.
I did not know they were doing that already. That is brilliant.
It is.
That's
I wonder
so
how
cool.
many people. This is going to be a weird market. Is it going to drive the cost of the?
Cars up or down?
Yeah, and
Well, so here's
like because there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to own a car then too.
Well, maybe. So I actually thought that was going to happen when Turo came on, and Turo's been around for quite a while now.
Yeah.
I mean that we were going to move away from this, and there's some people that have, right? We have friends. Tom Bilyeu is an example.
He doesn't own a car.
Guy's a gajillionaire, and he doesn't have a car. He literally Ubers everywhere, so he's somebody for sure that would take advantage of this. But there's still a large or a greater majority of people that still, I would have both. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't own less cars. I'd actually own one more car. And the way I would look at it is like the car that gets me to and from work that I don't give two shits about, that I don't mind it going out to drive other people.
Yeah.
I would hope that I could make that car basically pay for itself, because I have my own, like I have my commuter car that I drove today, right? That's my car that it's like I would consider like the car I care less about. I don't take good care of it, I would say, in comparison. And so I would love if it was being.
There's a lot of people too.
Then I have my cars that I don't want anybody to drive.
But imagine working from home, or you're a stay-at-home parent, or there's a lot of people like that where they just have the car parked.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, I'm not going anywhere tomorrow or the day after. You just put it on the app and go make some money.
I mean, it reminds me of the remember when I told you guys about that app for like people in San Francisco that rent their actually space in front of their house by the hour like that. I mean, imagine that. Like you're like a person who lives in San Francisco, like you could have your parking spot for your house being rented out all day long while the car's driving around making you money like that. I mean,
you're just inside your house eating Cheetos.
By the way, that's one of the most Adam thoughts.
Exactly.
Adam's like, how else can I stack this with other ways?
Right. I'm already thinking there's probably going to be smart investor people out there that are going to buy a fleet of them themselves, and then that's their
cash money. That's what Turo did, right? And obviously, some people bit off more than they could chew in areas where they couldn't, where the demand was high during COVID and not so high now. But there's a lot of people that, and I've met several of Turo owners that they started it with one or two cars. They saw how quick and profitable, and they just bought a whole fleet of cars. They got like 12 of them, and basically becoming their own little enterprise. Right. You know what I'm saying? And renting out vehicles, because as long as it was covering the payment and insurance and on all the expenses, they're basically were gaining a car with a little bit of cash flow. Like it's like a no brainer.
Awesome.
So
yeah. All right. So the shout out, we mentioned it earlier, coachglp1.com. Get in there. We will notify you when it's time for us to take on clients ourselves. We'll actually coach you ourselves. You have to be on a GLP-1, of course, to be in this group. So it's coachglp1.com. ButcherBox delivers grass-fed meat, heritage pork, wild-caught fish to your door. If you want to eat healthy meat, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, ButcherBox is the best company in the world. And right now, if you go through our link, you can get your choice of bone-in chicken thighs, top sirloin, or salmon in every single box added for free for an entire year. Plus, you'll get $20 off. Go check them out. Go to butcherbox.com/mindpump. All right, back to the show.
Our first caller is Casey from Oregon.
Hi, Casey. How can we help you?
How you doing?
Hello.
Hi, guys. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super grateful to be here. And of course, I have to at least touch on the thank you. So just really quick, I could go on and on about how awesome each one of you are and your team is, and just the impact that you guys have had on me and a lot of other people is really special. So thank you for that. And then one specific thing I need to touch on, because it's the most important thing in this life, and it's just, Sal, it's been super cool to hear about your spiritual journey. And it's awesome that you have found Jesus and to get to experience his love. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So my question is about an episode that you guys did a couple of months ago. It's the 90 days to get ready for summer plan. And I have the protocols in written form if we need to address that. But other than that, I'll just read my question. Okay, so I started following the 90 days to get ready for summer plan at the beginning of May after spending the previous 4 months training for a half marathon. I was super excited to start rebuilding my strength after not being able to lift heavy for over a year due to an injury, and to do some body recomp. So I decided to pair the 90-day plan with anabolic. Fast forward to the end of May, and I found out that I was pregnant. I was just finishing up the first 30-day phase of that plan. I felt like I was in a pretty good place with most of those habits. And so now I'm in month 2. I'm almost 7 weeks pregnant, and I really want to continue on with the plan, but I'm not sure if I should. I've been tracking my food steps and hitting my protein goals, but ultimately month 2, as you guys know, is in preparation for month 3, which is to adjust my caloric intake or movement, depending on if I'd like to build muscle or lose fat. And obviously, Those kinds of goals should not be on my mind anymore since I'm growing a human, but I'm wondering if there's a way for me to modify the rules of the plan to coincide with my pregnancy. And the main items I'm unsure would be my protein goal and if I should still be trying to gain my strength back. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts.
Really, really good question. I'm glad you're asking this because I've trained a lot of clients where this happened in the middle of our training, and really the big adjustments are really based off of how you feel. There's nothing that you really have to do differently. I definitely don't want you to cut, so we don't want you to have to. We don't want you to try to reduce body fat by reducing food intake. Not a good idea while you're pregnant. And then exercise-wise, you could do all the exercises so long as they feel okay. What tends to happen is as your baby grows, some exercises will just feel uncomfortable. Split stance exercises can start to feel uncomfortable. Obviously, core exercises, they're going to change. You're probably not going to want to do, especially in the third trimester, something like a bent over barbell row. You might want to do it supported, like a cable or knee on the bench type of a row, or a seated row. So you're really that's pretty much it. It's like based off of how you feel. As far as trying to get stronger, that's fine. But what you don't want to do is push so hard you're really pushing the limits. You don't want to do that while you're pregnant because there's a few different reasons. Your risk of injury goes up because of the loosening of your joints and your ligaments, because your muscle recruitment patterns around the core and the pelvic floor start to change. That can also increase risk of injury. And then, of course, the obvious, you don't want to overstress the body while you're pregnant. So you just proceed as usual. Don't try to cut or lose weight. And then really just pay attention to your body. Do I feel more tired than normal? Do I feel nauseous? This exercise feels awkward. My belly's getting in the way, maybe during the third trimester, or I don't feel like I could really do this movement properly. Then you just replace it with something else.
Yeah, I really don't I really don't want you trying to make gains in any direction, right? Either getting leaner gains or building muscle and building strength gains. Really at this point, how far along we are, it's can I maintain what I've already currently got to strength-wise, body fat percentage-wise in just by maintaining what you've been doing. And that is a huge win. I mean, the ability, because obviously you'll feel your energy up and down in better days than others. And obviously your tummy is growing. And so that makes it uncomfortable. So the fact that you could still do a lot of the things, that's a massive win. So if you can just continue to maintain the momentum that you already have. I think that the biggest mistake people make in pregnancy is trying to make new moves, is trying to, I get
push harder.
Yeah, I get clients that are all of a sudden getting pregnant and they're just got pregnant. They're like, hey, now Adam, I want to do this and that. It's like, well, we should have laid the foundation before. This is not the time to start trying to make moves. Right now, it's about the baby and taking care of the little one that you're growing. So that would be the main thing that I would just remind you, and to listen to your body. And there's going to be times when you probably have to back off intensity a little bit. That's totally fine. And there's going to be times where you feel great, and it's okay to push it. I just wouldn't want you trying to hit PRs and really push your limits at this time right now. It's just stay mobile, stay moving, stay strong. That in itself is going to really benefit you when it comes to post-pregnancy.
Yeah, I've had a lot of female clients get stronger through pregnancy, but what we did is we maintained a moderate level of intensity. And so when the weight just felt light, we just added more weight. But what we didn't do is like, okay, today we're going to try and add, 5 pounds to your lift or 10 pounds to your lift. It was really just, we're maintaining kind of this moderate high intensity. We're not going to failure. We're not going crazy with our workouts. And then when it's like, wow, this feels too easy. All right, we'll add a little bit of weight, type of deal, which is totally fine. But, Adam hit the nail on the head. It's like what you don't want to do, and what you see a lot of times with women is, oh my God, I'm pregnant. I want to make sure that I don't gain too much weight post-pregnancy. I want to bounce back real quick. So they start to chase this goal while they're pregnant, which is, it's not going to work. It just won't work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a couple of just clarifying questions from that, if I may.
Yes.
So when you say not to start adding new things that I'm not used to or anything, since I haven't been technically consistently strength training for the last year or so, I just got back into it after being very consistent for a lot of years. So it doesn't feel like what I'm doing is new and pushing my limits or anything. But would you say that it is because I have taken the last year off?
Yeah. So when you're looking at the exercises and the movements, I'll give you the ones to look out for, especially towards the third trimester. Okay. Split stance exercises, single leg, anything, balance, anything tends to, the pelvis has to support itself through that torsion. Mm-hmm. And during pregnancy, you can develop, I can't remember the term, pelvic synthesis pain, I think it's called. And so like, one-legged toe touches and balance, and that can aggravate that.
Anything laying on your belly.
Laying on your belly, laying on your back flat during the third trimester, that can not feel so good. So you can do new exercises, but you got to just really feel good while you're doing them. So like go through the motion and feel good, and then don't push the intensity too high. But it's gonna be a lot of bilateral stuff, squats, sumo exercises we start using towards the third trimester.
Yeah. You want to be more supported in the third trimester, and that's really it. It's like the stability, instability kind of component of training. We're going to want to kind of reduce that a bit. So just because, I mean, your core is different. It's going to be expanding. It needs to make room. So it's going to feel completely different.
Yeah. Listen to your body.
Yeah.
As you go through this, as you go through it, if it feels really awkward and weird, change the exercise out.
You're in the first trimester now. Have you getting any of the classic like nausea, morning sickness?
Luckily, none of those specifically. Just starting last weekend, I think I've been experiencing more fatigue than I normally do. So that's been the biggest one.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, good for you.
Okay.
That first trimester.
This is what I meant by like, so when you have those days of fatigue, back off the intensity.
That's it.
Or maybe sometimes that's a day you just go for a walk.
That's right.
So you've done a great job already of laying a nice foundation. You've got a history of lifting weights before. So you're already putting yourself in a really nice position. The biggest mistake we can make in this situation is trying to do too much. You doing anything physically and active is going to be positive for the body. And so if you notice as you're going through these movements, if there's anything that just doesn't feel right, feels awkward, change it out. Change it out for something else. Or if you feel like, man, I am just really dragging ass today, or my body does not feel good, or I'm having a little bit of nausea, like that's not the day to go try and really get after the gym. I mean, that's a day where maybe we go for a walk, maybe we do a couple movements, see how you feel. Like just listen to your body here. Stay consistent with your activity and movement. I think that's going to serve you. But we're not chasing PRs.
Now when you're cleared for activity after you have the baby, MAP Starter is a really good program for postpartum. It's a really, really good program for postpartum. Only after you're cleared and if there's no like major injury or anything like that.
And then go to Muscle Mommy.
And then you can go to Muscle Mommy.
Yeah.
But do you have MAP Starter?
I do not know.
Oh, perfect. All right, we'll send it to you. Perfect program for after you have the baby and everything's and you're cleared to move.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so being in my very, very early on, assuming I'm listening to my body and taking it easy when I need to take it easy, am I okay to at least like push my limits a little bit in the gym since I'm so early on?
Okay, let me ask you this, because I don't know you. So I would know this if you were my client, and I would know your tendencies. So some people I would say no, and other people I would be like, yeah, I think you can. Do you have a tendency to overtrain? Do you have a tendency?
What do you do now? Or going into this, like, what did you do prior to that?
Well, I'm currently doing anabolic. Prior to that, I was training for a half marathon, and prior to that, I was injured for a year, so I wasn't doing really much of anything.
Are you someone that tends to overdo it, or are you pretty good?
I can, but I feel like I found a good balance. I think the hardest part is just I've been out of it for so long, and I was so excited to get back into it, and so
I know what'll help you. Because you've been at it for so long and it's so new, you don't need to do much to get your body to respond. So if you feel like, ooh, I want to go a little harder, err on the side of less, and then that'll probably be correct.
Yeah, if it's if it was easy, I'd say okay, we can add some weight, and then okay, it just needs to be challenging. It does not need to be really challenging. I mean, I want you moving with perfect form and technique. I'm okay with the weight being heavy enough to where it's challenging you. but I most certainly don't want you shaking all over the place to finish
You don't need
a rep.
any veins popping out of your neck.
Yeah. I just, but I'm also asking you as you go through. It was Cassie, is that really easy? Is that really easy? Yeah, that's really easy. Okay, let's add some weight. How about now? Is that still? Yeah, it's a little bit more, but still pretty easy. Okay, add a little bit more weight. How'd that feel? Like, oh, that was challenging. I think I could do more, but that was challenging. Okay, it's challenging. That's good enough.
If you feel worse at the end of your workout than you did starting it, you did too much probably.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you.
And congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Future muscle mommy.
All right.
Woo, yep. Bye, guys.
That's great. Do you guys have a lot of experience training?
A ton.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of moms.
I've had several clients that I trained for years, and then they got pregnant, and then I trained them during pregnancy, and then they had the baby, and then I trained them post.
It's all varied too. Like in terms of, like you said, like the first trimester, and like some had really, the morning sickness, like bad, and it just varies from person to person.
I trained many moms like up until like that sucker popped out. Literally totally. A week or two before we were lifting weights still. So you'd be amazed when you do it. But I really, it's like how I tell people getting ready for competing for a show.
Yeah, like pre-contest.
It's like the real work is done in the off season. So and if we were comparing the two, like being pregnant is being on season, right? So it's like once you have the baby, it's like at this point, the real work was done before. Now you're just kind of maintaining movement,
trying to be consistent,
maintaining strength. I'm trying to lose as little muscle as possible.
And the other thing to consider too is I can't remember. I think the name of the hormone that's released, elastin, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Doug could look it up. But your joints and your body, especially towards the end, starts to loosen up in preparation
on purpose
for childbirth. And so exercises that place you in these kind of positions where there's the pelvis is twisting or torquing and it needs to stabilize, like it could cause major pain in pregnant women. I've heard pregnant women refer to it as like lightning crotch, they'll say, where the there's like a ligament there, the pelvis that gets loose and inflamed, and then it's like it feels like terrible pain. Yeah. So, I learned that early on as a trainer with some of my, pregnant clients, but it's a good time. It's great. In elastin, it is elastin. Awesome. But yeah, so one of the best things you can do when you're pregnant is strength train. The recovery is so much better afterwards.
Our next caller is Marissa from California.
Hi, Marissa. How can we help you?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for taking my question. I'll get right into it. I have it written here so I don't veer too far off track. So I'm 36 years old. I'm 5'6", and I weigh 145 pounds. I've been training and going to the gym since I was 15 years old, and I've been yo-yo dieting since middle school. At the beginning of this year, I started a nutrition program and lost about 10 pounds, and I also found your podcast around the same time. Generally pretty happy with the way that I looked, except for two small areas where I'd love to target some fat loss. And when I lost the 10 pounds earlier this year, I also lost some curves that I'd like to gain back. So I purchased the Muscle Mommy program, my very first MAPS product, when it launched a few weeks ago to help me with those goals. And so I'm now in the middle of week 3 of phase 1. But I'm having a hard time with two things, and that is the time commitment and the intensity. So for context, I am a mom, a wife, full-time employee, and I'm also an MBA student at Berkeley. So for me, the Muscle Mommy program workouts can take over an hour to complete with the recommended rest times. And so that's pretty hard for me to fit into my schedule on any given day. So I'm wondering if it is okay to split the workouts and do shorter workouts over more days of the week. And I don't know if that affects the overall outcome of the program. And if it is okay to do that, what does that mean for the trigger sessions? Alternatively, would a program like MAPS 15 be better for me with my time constraints and the goals that I have in mind? So that's question 1. Question 2 is on the intensity side. I consider myself pretty fit, but probably disproportionately so. So historically focusing more on lower body than upper body and core. And so some of the exercises, at least in phase 1, are a little light for me. So for example, I did the elevated dumbbell sumo squats this morning. And so with my dumbbells up at the highest level, which is 55 pounds, I can probably do 15 to 20 reps rather than the 12 that's recommended. I do have a barbell though, and I see there are barbell squats in phase 2. But then on the other hand, some of the upper body exercises, my 15-pound dumbbells are more than enough. So my question here is, should I advance to phase 2 for the lower body work so that I'm challenged? Or should I stay the course and complete the program as scheduled? Or is there a completely different program you'd recommend for someone like me?
Yeah, good question.
And then lastly, I'll just say I love all of the advice written into the program, especially around the testing and the supplement advice for women. I love the workouts. I'm doing a lot of moves I wasn't previously incorporating, so it's been fun. It's been a nice change, but wanted to pose this as a live question in case there are others experiencing the same issues.
This is a great question.
Yeah, awesome.
It's great detail. And I think your intuition is already on point, which is, I just don't think that that's the ideal program for your current time in your life. You got a lot going on right now and trying to train inside the gym. And you could totally split it. Like you said, there's nothing wrong with that. We've modified programs for people like that before. I just think that a MAPS 15 type of protocol will better serve you with everything you have going on. I think you'll build as much, if not more, muscle that way.
You won't have to think about it quite as much. It's all right there, ready to go.
Yes, and then maybe when things slow down a little bit, school wise or work wise or summer wise, like depending on, you know that better than anybody, then maybe we jump back into a muscle mommy. Doesn't mean you can't utilize though a lot of the cool stuff because muscle mommy, we put a lot of effort into like all the supplement diet recommendations. Like you can keep that. You could totally keep all those things. I do think a modified program though, as far as like following MAPS 15, like the advanced style, which is more like about a 25 minute workout, especially since you have a barbell, that's what I would probably push you towards.
Yeah. I mean, look, a mom, full-time employee, also going to school, you got a lot going on. And based off of what you're saying with your work and your education, you're probably somebody that pushes yourself pretty hard or very accomplished. And so that means you probably veer more towards I'm doing too much rather than I need, kind of the right amount. I think MAPS 15 is going to give you better results. Now, as far as the question about the reps and the weight that you're using, you obviously can go heavier if you could get a heavier dumbbell. But here's the other thing. You could also make that weight feel heavier by going slower with the reps or pausing at the bottom and tensing it. So sometimes what I'll do is, if I'm using a weight and I think, okay, I want to do, 12 reps with this, and then I end up pumping out 16 reps. Well, with the next set, I might not add weight. I'll just slow the reps down so that it becomes 12, or I'll change the technique and the form a little bit. So there's different ways to do progressive overload. One of them is to add weight. The other one is to make the current weight you have feel heavier. Both of them are totally valid. But yeah, MAPS 15, do the advanced version. I think that's perfect for what you said. And then after that, like Adam said, when you have more time, go back to MAPS Muscle Mommy. You'll be set.
You also could, even though I think just to help other people that have this question, we should talk about it. You mentioned you had a barbell. I would actually just put a barbell on your back and do the sumo squats.
You can do that.
So instead of having the dumbbell between your legs, and it sounds like you're an advanced lifter, so you would probably know how to do that. I would just say, hey, let's just put the barbell on your back. That way you can load that, especially since you have a strong lower body, and we'll do sumo squats.
But don't do it elevated because you don't need you don't need to do it elevated if you have a barbell. The elevated part is because the dumbbell's down between your legs, it'll hit the floor. But you can go down just as deep with the barbell without having to elevate. And the reason why I'm saying that, I could just imagine you getting a barbell on your back and then trying to step up and elevate. Don't do that.
Yeah, glad you clarified.
Don't do that.
So,
awkward, yeah.
But yeah, if you were a client of mine and that we were trying to solve that
barbell sumo squats,
and you had a barbell, I'd say, let's just do barbell sumo squats. That'll do what I'm trying to accomplish from that exercise.
Totally.
But I think none of that matters because I think we're going to move you over to MAPS 15. We'll have Doug send that over to you. I'm assuming you don't have it already. Do you have MAPS 15?
I don't have it yet. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have Doug send that over to you free, and then follow the advanced version. So there's two versions in there. There's the beginner 15 kind of version, and then there's the advanced version. The advanced version takes more like 20 to 25 minutes. So let's have you do that. And then stay in touch with us as this goes through. Like I think it's going to be the perfect amount of volume for you, and I think you're going to find you get better results that way. I think you're going to feel great doing it. depending on how that goes, there's possibilities of me adding one exercise here or there to it, like if we were trying to do something specific. But I think that by itself is going to do you really well.
Totally.
Okay, thank you. And then just last question, since I have a little bit of disproportion, is there anything you recommend to sort of even out the upper body, lower body strength?
That's very normal, especially for a woman, to have a very strong lower body in comparison to upper body.
There's nothing weird about what you. Yeah,
that's totally normal.
Super common.
Now, if you said something like you cared about aesthetically, like you're like, Adam, I wish my shoulders were more developed, or I wish, but if you are okay with the shape and the development of your upper body in relation, that's totally fine. It's very normal. Okay. In fact, I had a lot of female clients that could squat and deadlift damn near the same amount of weight as my men could. So women could get really, really strong in their lower body, not so much in their upper body. So it's totally normal to have that feel disproportionate. So long as you're happy with your symmetry and your physique shape, and you're not telling me specifically like there's a part on your upper body you wish were more developed, I wouldn't modify or change the program from there.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for calling in.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, got it. Bye. The interesting thing about Mass 15 is it's probably the most appropriate program for most people, for sure.
Especially with the demands of work and, just family and all that. Like, it's one of those things. It's nice to have something like that you can keep consistent with.
Yeah, it's become one of my favorite programs, especially kind of like where I think I'm at in my life, right? It's obviously not the best program if you're going to get on stage and compete. It's not the best program for you if you're trying.
Yeah, but when you say that, you got to be careful because someone listening, someone listening is like, well, I want to look like I know. Like no, it's just not appropriate in the sense that it's not going to get you anywhere to train with crazy volume and all that stuff because you have a normal life, you work, you got
stress
kids.
Bucket is filled up.
It's when you're competing, people need to realize when you're competing, that's your job.
Yeah.
You don't do anything else, and your whole life revolves around it. It's one of the most selfish sports in the world for that reason.
Yeah.
Our next caller is Anthony from Florida.
Anthony, what's going on, man?
How's it going, guys?
Good. How can we help you?
What up?
So I'm calling because I talked to you guys about 4 months ago. You said to reach back out and check in with you after I did MAPS Anabolic Advance, and I went into reverse diet. And as Sal predicted, I put on about 12 pounds, and I would say majority of it being all muscle. It felt great. I went from that. I ended up going from, I was eating like 1,800 calories at the time. You guys said I have to go way higher. So I reversed it, and I got to about probably on average 3,300, 3,400 a day.
Wow. Awesome.
And I felt amazing. My strength went through the roof. Like I said, I definitely put on some size. I would imagine I put a little bit of fat on, but like my waist never changed. My clothes really never changed or anything like that. But I definitely got bigger.
Huge.
Yeah. So it was really awesome. And then now basically what's going on is I am wanting to do a small little cut after doing that reverse diet for a while. And like, I'm somebody that's pretty much usually locked in. Like when I jump into a calorie deficit and I pick whatever my calories are going to be, like I don't go over it. I'm really strict. I'm really good about, counting my calories, using my app, hitting all my macros, everything like that. But it feels like this time I'm like having such a hard time. And I don't know if it's because I was maybe used to eating so much food after doing that reverse diet. And I will also say that I did just have a baby, so my sleep is terrible. So I don't know if that's playing a huge factor in it.
Of course.
But I've noticed like my cravings are like not typical for me. Like I can have Cheez-Its and pretzels and stuff like that in the house and like not even worry about it. Let my kids have them once in a while. But like I find myself like getting so hungry and like strictly craving those things. And it's just like way out of the ordinary for me. So what I'm trying to figure out is, am I cutting too deep right after doing a reverse diet? Or is it just like the fact that my sleep is so bad that's factoring in? Like, why am I having such a hard time cutting after doing this diet?
It's literally all three things you just said. Like, first of all, one thing by itself that is crazy, and it took me a long time to make this connection of what a massive decision. One poor night of sleep, I can guarantee that next day I'm going to have the weirdest cravings for junk food. Yeah,
so there's lots of studies on this.
So that's a fact. Just that alone. So you're sleep disrupting. You're also a new person. you are 12 pounds more buff than you've ever been, with a metabolism that can eat 3,400 calories, which you may have never been in your life before. And now you're trying to cut back down. So that in itself is really, really difficult. And it may also be, you might be too aggressively cutting and you don't need to. That's what I was wondering. You might be, because you're used to probably cutting down to a certain amount, or maybe a certain meals that you have. You just went right back to that. It's like the fact that you went all the way up to 3,400, you can probably cut at like 2,800 and lean out nicely. And so
I'm looking at like 25, so I'm way too.
No.
That's too much. Yeah, 2,800. And another one of those signs is the cravings are so bad because you really are hungry, and so it really is the combination though of all three things. You've reached a higher level metabolically than you ever have before, so you're a new version of yourself. You're not used to this. You're probably cutting a little bit harder than you need to, and then you're also dealing with poor sleep. That's definitely going to kick that up, and so. A strategy, Anthony, if you can do this, and I don't know if you're good or not, this would be difficult for you, but I would, if I'm in your situation where I'm battling these, sometimes I get good sleep, sometimes I don't, is I would ebb and flow my calories. So I'm not like I'm eating 2,800 every single day. Some days I might go as low as 2,400, 2,500. Other days I might be 3,200 calories, and kind of allow it to undulate. Now, at the end of the week, you average out in a cut. But based off of how you're feeling and what's going on with your sleep and everything else, I might allow those days to be higher calorie days, and then days when, hey, I got good sleep last night, I'm busy today, so it doesn't bother me to miss an extra 500. Like, you could go low on that day. So there's nothing wrong, and even lower than what I said, you could push as low as 2,000 for one day. One day of a 2,000 calorie day is not going to hurt you. Just be prepared that the next day you might be really hungry, and if you paired that with a poor night of sleep, those cravings might kick in.
And the other reason not to go too hard of a cut is the stress of lack of sleep is already a lot of stress. So then to add the stress of reduced calories, that's like a double whammy. So in a position like, how old's your baby? How long ago did you have it?
6 weeks.
Okay, so you're in the middle of it. So I would do a very low, mild cut, at best.
Almost maintenance.
I would go, like, if you were averaging 3,300 calories, I'd go 31, like something that's just real tiny, because unless you're in a hurry, if you're not in a hurry, I would do a tiny cut. I wouldn't go crazy, because you got lack of sleep is a killer, man. It's a killer on your recovery. It crushes it causes cravings. It's a big stress on the body. So going in an aggressive cut plus lack of sleep, like that's not a good idea. I would do a real mild cut at most, and then just monitor your intensity with your workouts. Keep it kind of easy. Anabolic advance is probably too much at this point. This would be more of a MAPS 15. MAPS 15 would be the perfect workout for you right now, and then just take it from there.
And I remember our conversation last time, Anthony. I know you have a lot of muscle. You have. And I know you're lean, and so you're actually in a place now where you'd be surprised, like, just kind of keeping like, just get out of a bulk, but put yourself in a maintenance.
You'll probably get a little leaner,
and you'll probably lean out. So you don't even, you when you have as much muscle as you have, you train as consistent, you could probably just eat right around 3,000 calories to where you're what you would consider kind of a maintenance place, and you would probably week over week slowly lean out and feel a lot better in that.
I remember you called us out of your garage, right? Garage gym. Yeah. So is this?
And I just had my third daughter. That's what I was telling you guys last time. So it's been, obviously between the three kids and this baby's definitely the more difficult one with the sleep as far as that goes. And then, so what I did was I finished MAPS Anabolic, and I knew that it was way too much for me. I kind of switched. I'm just doing 3 days a week, and I just do like a full body workout. And some days it's only like, I don't even sometimes I won't even get to the legs just because I know I'm too tired to do it, and I don't want to stress my body. So it's like, typically it's just about 3 hours a week of working out, and the rest has just been kind of walking and just trying to maintain it. And so I was wondering what you thought would be the next, and I guess you just answered that by saying MAPS 15.
Bro, you'll love it. Yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Do the advanced version. It's like 2 lifts a day, every day. Most days you're going in, you're doing 2 lifts, and that's it. You're in and out. Your body will recover from it. You'll feel good. Little bit daily seems to be better than a lot occasionally. So, 2 full body workouts a week versus, 20 minutes a day. I mean, the shorter
workouts, a better match for your environment.
They seem to be a lot better. Yeah. And
I'm right now taking 2 weeks off, and I wanted to run this by you because I'm pretty sure I heard you talk about this, Sal, before. So I've been dealing with tennis elbow now probably for like 2 years, and I'm treating it like the toxic way, where I like go get a cortisone shot, act like there's nothing wrong, and then I just work through it. And I've hit this point like where I got my final cortisone shot like 2 weeks ago, and it just did absolutely nothing for me. So it's not even like I'm at a point where it's not working for me anymore. So like I know that like I just need to give my body rest. Plus, they're not sleeping, so it just worked out that it's the time to do so. But my question would be like with the tennis elbow, you know, I am set up for an MRI and like trying to figure out a few things. But do you have any like
yes,
like trying to keep what I have without losing it, but still
deep tissue massage will help unless you got a tear, but it sounds like a lot of inflammation. Deep tissue massage. And have you looked into peptides? Have you worked with like BPC 157, thymosin beta?
I just started it today.
There you go. And so deep tissue massage that, and then really just ease into your workout.
I'm gonna add more holistic stuff to that. Okay, so now that we're gonna move you to MAPS 15, okay. Every day that you also lift, I want you to start it. So if you go on Mind Pump TV, our YouTube channel, Justin and I both have done videos on this. I know I've done a tennis golf elbow one. I know Justin has too. There's some mobility drills specifically for the wrist and the shoulder, which will address this.
No, but wait till you feel better, though. Don't do it. If you're super inflamed right now, don't go jumping into intense mobility because you'll make it worse. You got to let it get a little better.
It's definitely the worst it's ever been in 2 years. And I'm wondering if it's because part of it's because with the reverse diet and my lifts got so much heavier than what they normally have.
That exacerbated it for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
But wait till it starts to feel better, and then the mobility movements, because you can overdo those too when you're really inflamed.
Like Adam said before, every workout.
Every workout you start with those movements. Like rifle flips or some wrist stuff. You'll see there's a couple videos. There's a couple videos that Justin and I have done. I battled this like crazy, especially when I was getting big for competing, stuff like that. It was a constant battle, and you just got to do that. It's just got to become part of your routine to do that before you train any of your lifts. So watch those videos and make that part of your routine. So you basically are going to be doing a mobility exercise and then the 2 exercises inside MAPS 15, and that's what your workouts look like going forward.
Yep.
Okay.
And you'll hang on to your gains, bro. You'll hang on to your gains. You'll be fine.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah,
man.
like I'm at a point where it's like I don't care if I get any bigger. I just don't really want to lose it either, you know?
You won't.
You'll be all right.
You've been training for a while. You won't.
Yeah, you'll be all right, Anthony.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, God bless you. 3 daughters.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Good for you. How old are they? You get the 6-week-old and what?
I got a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-week-old.
Good for How's your wife? How's she doing?
She's doing good. Thank God she's as solid as she is, because it's definitely been a struggle, you know, especially with I'm out of the house a lot, and I just recently started doing training myself. I got certified, and so my schedule. You guys obviously know what that type of schedule looks like. Like the time she needs me the most is probably the times that I'm actually at the gym helping other people, you know. So it's been tough a little bit, but we're getting through it.
Good for you. God bless. That's awesome. All right, man. Good to hear from you.
All right, thank you.
Take it easy.
Have a good one.
Wasn't he the one that you made a comment about, like
womanizers?
Yeah,
I don't think
everyone you know.
I think it was every guy I know that has 3 girls or more
in their past
were playboys. They were all playboys. Every one of them.
Check out.
And then you get blessed with a bunch of daughters.
I just think
a lot of guys I played football with, the same thing.
And their daughter's always adorable. They always got this beautiful little girl.
Whether you believe in God or not, or you think it's just this magical universe thing that just happens, like there's something weird about how when guys are playboys, they tend to have daughters.
It's the balance,
yes,
dude.
and not just one. They normally have 2 or 3 or 4. Yeah, and it's just like it's God's way of being like, here you go.
Dude.
Now you're gonna get a taste of your own medicine.
You know, I did want to say this, just after we got off the call with the cortisone, you know, repeated cortisone use has been shown. Yeah, it's been shown to break tissue down, cause more problems, because that inflammatory signal is also a signal for healing. Yeah. So you block it, get rid of it, the pain's gone. But now your body
so challenging telling somebody that because they feel so good right after.
Oh, I used to tell my clients
it is relief.
Go for 1, and then that's it. After that, because you see the data will show you this. So like you get joint degeneration, all that stuff. So pretty crazy.
Our next caller is Courtney from South Carolina.
Hi, Courtney.
Oh my God.
What's going on?
I just said I wouldn't cry. Here it comes.
Stop it. If you cry, I'm going to cry. Then they're going to cry. We're all going to cry.
I love it.
Hold it in.
I love you guys so much. Okay.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Hi.
You got a question?
How can we help you?
Okay. Right. The question.
Right.
So yeah, okay. Well, before I ask, I do just want to say, I mean, I'm sure you read the email, but I just want to say thank you for like being total lifesavers, and you guys are just the best people ever.
You're sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now for my silly question that I feel like is relatable in some way. So I love like the gym. I love working out, but I am one of the bro split people. So I do like a chest day, a back day, et cetera, et cetera. And I just love that way of training so much. And I know in order to get past a plateau, I need to do something different. But like the idea of a full body workout, I'm like, I just don't want to do it. Honestly, I just don't want to. And I know that like I have to. I guess my question is, I know all of you guys have talked about how you have your own favorites. How do you make that transition like emotionally?
Well, Courtney, you actually, you don't have to. Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
You don't ever, you could train bro split forever, totally, and totally be okay. The reason why we teach it is because most people are in a plateau in their life and they're trying to break a plateau and they want to see change in their physique. And one of the easiest ways that we could do that for somebody is to move them away from the current way that they've been training forever and something that's totally different, like full body.
Yeah.
And most of the research supports that that's better for most people. But if you're at a place where you're very happy, like physically, strength-wise, and you like going to the gym and you enjoy that way of lifting, then I wouldn't necessarily move you out of it. Now, if you were telling me, I don't know, I'm just not seeing any change and I haven't been getting any stronger and I'm not,
or you're getting injured.
Yeah, and you're wanting more from your workouts and you feel like they're not giving you the return, well then yeah, then one of the easiest things I'd say, well, Court, we've been doing this bro split for a really long time. Let me switch you over to a full body routine and let me show you some new results that you haven't seen. And so then I would urge you to go that direction. But if I had a client and because you look pretty fit from where I'm sitting, that is pretty fit, pretty healthy, pretty strong, loves to train this way, I would not necessarily make you go to a full body because you really enjoy the way you're lifting right now.
You know, Courtney, so I'm going to ask you a question because it'll help me answer this for you better. What do you love about the gym? What do you love about working out? What is it about it that you like so much?
I just love being strong. Like, I know I said it a little bit in my email, so I'll keep it brief, but like I had an eating disorder since I was 11. And honestly, what saved my life was the gym and knowing that I needed to eat in order to be strong. Awesome. Like, you can't just run on fumes. Mm-hmm. Right. So gym, and honestly, the four of y'all, Doug, you too, really just, that's the one thing I think that convinced me to keep doing the right thing, because I love being strong. I love working out. I love being able to do hard things. And it's really more a mindset and kind of like a practice, just like you brush your teeth. Like, why? Because you want to be clean. Why do you want to be clean? I don't know. You just do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's a bit like that for me. I'd like to break through plateaus because, you know, it's always nice to get better. But yeah, that's the conundrum I'm kind of caught in.
What concerns you about the format of the total body workout in comparison to what you're doing?
You know, it's not the format. It's really just more, I do love the gym and I'm afraid of the possibility of not wanting to work out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got the answer.
Still be in the gym.
Yep. I got the answer. So I'm glad I asked that question. Considering your background and what you're getting from this, this is a control thing for you. It's a routine. I go every day. I don't want to miss it. It's been so beneficial to me. It got me out of that dark place. And I don't want to ever go back to that dark place. And I don't want to make any steps or changes that could potentially bring me back there where I was before.
Strong association with that.
And I go every day and it's good. I wake up and I go, and it's this awesome thing. I get it. So how old are you, by the way? And how long have you been doing this now with the exercise?
I'm 29, and I've been in the gym since I was young, but definitely doing all the wrong things, having all the wrong mindset. And I went to like a rehab facility for athletes to help us kind of reintegrate back into doing what we love in a healthier fashion. So I am in a place where I don't do it to look any certain way. I really do it as just a means to do what I love to do.
Yeah. No, I totally get it.
A great mindset. Yeah.
I totally get it. Okay, so you're going to be having this relationship with exercise for the rest of your life, hopefully. So it's going to be beneficial for you to change what you're doing. Forget about your body, performance, and strength. All those are important, but let's forget about those for a second. Here's why it's important to change what you're doing, because you need to break the chains with the connection you have with the current way you're working out. And all that's going to do, so think about it this way, right? Okay. You have we are going to mature you in a fitness way. You're going to achieve more fitness maturity. What does fitness maturity look like? It looks like I can do different things. I'm not tied to this one. I have favorites, but it's okay if I move away. I don't have fear of moving away from this one style of training or this one type of schedule. I can move to a different one. And although I have my favorites, I don't fear moving out of. That's fitness maturity. And we want that because you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. So it's a good idea to do something different precisely for that. Now, as far as having a daily practice in the gym, there's nothing wrong with that at all. You can do a full body workout 3 days a week and still go to the gym every single day and do different things. You could do mobility would be my favorite thing for you, to go to the gym and focus on mobility. There's athletic drills that you could do in the gym. You could take a full body workout, split it up, and do it so that you're in there instead of 3 days, you're in there 6 days. You can go to the gym every single day. It doesn't have to be chest, back, shoulders, biceps, triceps, like that. It could be different. And what'll happen is you're going to find it'll feel at first a little terrifying, then freeing, and then you're going to expand your horizon and your understanding of fitness, and you're going to mature to another level. So I think that would be the reason why I would encourage you to do that.
You need to meet new friends. And they're all these friends are all different ways to train that's beneficial for your body. So it's like creating a new relationship, a new association with a different way to move around and to enjoy other aspects of fitness that you're introducing yourself to. So it's a tough one because I definitely love performance style training, and it's a hard thing for me to kind of switch it around and do a different format. But I know every time that I kind of switch and go somewhere where I'm uncomfortable, that's where all the growth lies.
You said you like being strong. Would you be interested in following our powerlifting program? I think is it 4 or 5 days a week in the gym, Maps Powerlift? It's 4 days. It's 4 days a week in the gym, Maps Powerlift, and you can go the other days in the gym, just go in there and do mobility work. You go in there and just work on stretching mobility. But it is a straight powerlifting routine. If you like to get strong, you will get your strongest following that program with the major lifts. If you're interested, we can send that to you.
I mean, I'll try it. I just feel like my fear is I'm going to be like, oh, I hate this.
Just out of curiosity, because you've been running a bro split for so long, suffer from any joint pain, shoulders, hips, back, elbows? Anything bother you?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, honestly, this is maybe where we're not all on the same page of agreement here. Like, I don't know if I would move you, because you're not telling me that there's something you want different aesthetically. You're not complaining of any sort of chronic nagging pain because you've been doing everything in the same plane for so long. Because eventually what will happen, and I might just, if you were a client of mine, I might just wait till this happens. I might wait for you one day, 8 months later, we've been training together, and you go, oh man, Adam, my wrist and my elbow is bothering me.
Or you might just be like, I'm ready.
Or you're like, I want to try, and I might just wait for you to want to do something else, and then we move into it. Or let your body start telling you that, hey, you're neglecting rotational movements, or you're neglecting some way of training, and then I would teach it to you through one of our programs. But if you really are in a rhythm, you really like bro splits, you're really happy.
You're not doing anything wrong.
You're not doing anything wrong. And sometimes what I don't like about our space is this, we're this constant pursuit of we have to keep changing and building, and like it's like, no, I mean, a lot of my training is about optimizing the rest of my life. And if the rest of my life is really good and I've got this like healthy relationship, I don't give a shit if I'm doing the same workouts for, 6 months, and that's not what the studies say is the most optimal for gains and shit. I don't give a shit. I like going to the gym. I enjoy that workout. It keeps me strong. It keeps me fit. It gives me release, like keeps me healthy. Like I don't care that there's a better workout that I could be doing right now that will get me more gains or, more. I don't care, because I'm at a place where I'm happy. And so if you're happy, I don't know how much I would push you out of what you're enjoying. So you don't necessarily need to do a full body routine at all. If you like it, it's working for you. And again, if you were my client, as your coach, I would wait for you to come to me and say, Adam, I want this, or Adam, I feel like I'm missing this. And then I would say, I have the answer for you.
I'll do this. Yeah, I agree 100% with Adam. And you at some point you might be like, I'm ready to try something different, which will
I
probably.
I want to know what I'm capable of.
Well, okay, look, here's what I'm going to offer you. I can either send you MAPS Powerlift, or I can send you MAPS Anabolic Advanced. Anabolic Advanced is more bodybuilding. I think it's also 4 days a week in the gym. MAPS Powerlift is how many? 6. Okay, well, there you go. You want to work out 6 days a week? I got MAPS Anabolic Advanced, and it's going to be different programming than you're used to.
All right, we'll see how she does.
You'll be in the gym 6 days a week. So you're still going to be in the gym a lot.
All right, fair enough.
All right, we'll send it to you, but I want to follow up. I want to hear back from you. I want to see how it worked out for you.
Yeah, even if it sucked for you, I want to know.
Try
all of it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to lie. Yeah,
I hated it.
Yeah, yes.
I think you'll love
you
it.
do you, but there's nothing wrong with trying new things.
All right.
All right.
And thanks for calling. It was really nice to hear that we made that big of an impact for you.
Yeah, no, seriously. Thank y'all so much. It really, y'all are my heroes.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Woo.
All right. Thanks, Courtney.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Yeah. I mean, she's fine. It's just at some point, if she's consistent enough, which sounds like she will be, she'll get to the point where she's like, I want to try something different. Not a big deal.
Either that or her body will tell her. I mean, that's,
I hope not, right? I hope it doesn't get to that forced
No,
place.
of course you don't. You don't. But I mean, again, her body will tell her before it's forced, right? There's your body starts to give you signs well before it's
or you get bored.
A major issue, And so I don't, it's a great caller and a great conversation, because it's not something we talk too much about, because we're always trying to tell people the most optimal thing or the best next thing, or educate you on what the research and the study says. But listen, I can see she's very fit and healthy. She's come from a place. She's come from a place that was very dark and not healthy,
right?
And has found something that is really working for her. I didn't see any signs of somebody who I need to move away from.
No, and when I asked,
it's almost like, am I doing something wrong? Am I not? You're not doing anything wrong.
That's right.
Not. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to ask us what's optimal, we have opinions about that.
The sense that I got right there was that she trusts us because we've taken her from a very dark place to a very good place in her life now.
Yeah,
and she's heard us talk ad nauseum the pros of full body workouts and why it's so much better, because we're trying to convince so many other people to move in that direction. So she thinks, oh shit, I don't like doing that. I don't want to do that. And I trust these guys. Do I need to do this? And the answer is no, you don't. Just because we try and encourage most people in that direction, because it will serve most people to do that, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to serve her where she's currently at in her life. And she's got a very good routine down. Doesn't necessarily mean I would change that.
I had another terrible analogy I was going to launch in this whole conversation and kind of didn't, but it was like thinking about, your journey in fitness and going to the gym is like, it's not monogamous. Like it's polygamous. You got to try all these other things.
No. You're serially monogamous. You can't just switch routines every 5 minutes.
It's polygamous.
Or it's anyway.
Stick with it.
Good job, Justin.
Yeah, it's up there with ramp water.
No, it's not. That's the best one. Yeah. Look, if you love the show, we have a guide. It's a How to Squat Like a Pro guide. You can get it at mindpumpfree.com. You can also find all of us on Instagram. Justin is at mindpumpjustin. I'm at mindpumpdestefano, and Adam's at mindpumpadam.